This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 511, The Forge of Life by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com, and I'm Justin Malik. Happy Friday, and welcome to Optimal Living Daily, a podcast with a crazy vision of bringing hundreds of blogs to audio for free, actually thousands of blog posts now, and sometimes even books. As for blogs, I currently read from a bunch of different personal development and minimalism blogs, like The Minimalist, Mark and Angel, Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, James Clear, and our author today, the very popular Steve Pavlina. And really quickly, I recently joined Patreon, and as of this recording, I'm just about 75% of the way to my first goal, which would help pay for the new podcast, Optimal Living Daily Relationships. And to be honest, I jumped the gun, so that podcast is losing money, but I thought it was worth it. If I get to 100%, the show will at least break even, so if you're in a position to do so, I'd greatly appreciate your help. By contributing, you'll actually get bonuses, ad-free versions of this show, including this part right now, since it's essentially an ad, personalized videos from me, and more. It depends on your level of contribution. So to see that info and help keep this podcast alive, come by oldpodcast.com/help. It'd mean a lot. But for now, let's hear today's post as we optimize your life. The Forge of Life by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com. Sometimes I like thinking of life as a forge that molds us and gives us shape and substance as we live. We come into this world like blocks of marble, and we're sculpted by experience. We can let the forge do its job on its own, but we also have the option to consciously participate in the process if we feel ready for that. We can collaborate with the forge in order to have a say in what we're becoming. Recently, I attended a workshop by author-speaker Tim Free. Tim shared an idea that resonated with me. First, he noted the conception that when we die, some people imagine that we'll see a bright light, and supposedly we're expected to go towards the light and dissolve into it. When this happens, we shed our earthly identities. We experience total oneness, but we also essentially become unconscious. If dissolving into light means shedding your individual consciousness, then there's no ego left through which consciousness can look at itself. Consequently, going into the light actually means going dark. Tim suggested an alternative. He asked, I'm paraphrasing here, what if instead of dissolving into the light, the point of life is to develop such a strong individual consciousness that we don't want to dissolve into unconscious oneness afterwards? That's an interesting perspective, isn't it? What if the spiritual goal of your earthly life is to develop such a strong consciousness, identity, and personality that you love to continue going even after you die? So you look at the offer to dissolve into the light and you exclaim, no thanks, I'll keep going with what I've created. If a master sword maker created an amazingly beautiful and elegant sword, would you acknowledge its greatness and then toss it back into the forge right away to recycle it? Or would you display it proudly, study it more deeply, admire its craftsmanship? Would you enjoy using such a sword? Once the sword is crafted, wouldn't it be nice to learn how to wield it? You can spend a whole other lifetime exploring and mastering the use of that sword long after the forging is done. Life is forging, sculpting, and molding you. Sometimes it shapes you with fire. Sometimes it shapes you with water. And sometimes it lets you rest. Forging the self. When you see that you're being forged by experience, you gain the option to consciously participate in your own forging. You can help direct the forger, telling him how to mold and shape you in ways that you desire. The forger may have his own plan for you, and you can submit to that plan, you can break from it, or you can align with it and help enhance it. How do you do this? One way is through surrender. Recognize the ways that life has already been shaping you, and instead of resisting those movements, actively invite and encourage them. Notice where life keeps nudging you to go, and go there. Another way is through exploration. Lean into new experiences. One of my favorite expressions is, embrace the new. I found that when I do this, I have few regrets. If the outcome is positive, then I've molded my character in some valuable new way. If the outcome isn't so good, then I've learned a good lesson about how to mold my character, and I've freed my mind to let go of the recurring, maybe I should try this, thought pattern. It's much easier to keep progressing when I satisfy my curiosity through direct experience. Another way is by confronting fear. What do you fear? Public speaking, talking to strangers, being homeless? Failing in business, being rejected, deep intimacy. Confront your fears again and again, and your fear dissolves. This gives you more power to participate in sculpting your own character, since now you can embrace new types of forging that you'd otherwise resist due to irrational fear. You gain new lists of properties that you could forge into your character, properties that were previously unavailable to you. For instance, you could create a character who travels around the world doing public speaking, which wouldn't have been accessible when you resisted flying, speaking, and traveling abroad. And still another way is by consciously modifying the forge itself. You can deliberately change your environment and your social connections to help influence how you turn out. Move to a new city or part of town, drop unsupportive social connections, and invite and add more inspiring ones. If you don't like what some of the forgers in your life are doing, stop inviting them into your forge. Conscious character design. What kind of character would you like to create? Who do you dream of becoming? Take some time to review the list of values at stevepavlina.com. Note the ones that you'd most like to include in your character. There are more than 400 to choose from. See if you can narrow your favorites down to a personal top 10 list. This will help you get a clearer idea of what kind of character you'd like to create, at least in terms of broad strokes. What recurring patterns in your life could you surrender to, such that surrendering instead of resisting would actually help you forge the character you desire? What new experiences could you lean into to help forge a character? What fears could you consciously face until they dissolve? What social environmental changes would help to forge your character even more powerfully? You can let the forge make all of these decisions for you, or you can actively participate in the process, which gives you the ability to significantly enhance, customize, and polish your character. Have you already created such a delightful character that you'd love to keep living and exploring with your creation as it is right now? Could you decline the invitation to dissolve into the light? If not, then what's missing? What additional forging remains to be done? What's the next step for you? What action could you take right now to help forge your character in the direction of your desires? Take that action. You just listened to the post titled The Forge of Life by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com. Whatever your beliefs, I really thought that was a powerful message at the end. I hope you enjoyed it too. And one last time, really quick, you can have promo-free episodes of this show. This section will be cut out for you when I talk about self-promotional stuff or have an advertisement. And you can get handwritten physical mail from me, even personalized videos, if you're a monthly contributor to keep this podcast alive. Just come by oldpodcast.com/help to learn more and see my first goal, which is currently just about 75% funded. I'm getting there. Again, that's oldpodcast.com/help. That'll do it for the Friday episode. Thank you for being here and subscribing to the show. Have a great start to your weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.